What's up everybody, Jamison Redding here with the Road Trip Angler. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Seaguar 437 Paddleski. I'm excited because it is winter time and it has been really cold so far this winter. Today it's almost 60 degrees and it was the perfect day for me to get this out, set it up, and try to take it and test it out on the water. But before I take it to the water, I wanted to go over a few specs and what Seaguar has to say about the Paddleski and what they designed it for. The Seaguar Paddleski inflatable catamaran boat is the most versatile watercraft in the world. A unique 4-in-1 hull. You can paddle, motor, sail, and fish. It packs down a mere fraction of its inflatable size. Storage and transportation are a dream, and it features two widely spaced inflatable tubes that glide through the water while providing a solid, well-balanced hull. Basically, this is a dual pontoon or catamaran style boat that has a drop-stitched inflatable floor, very similar to what you may have seen in some of my other videos, in the different rafts that I have tested, and the inflatable kayaks, including the Fish Skiff 16 from Seaguar. That means that you have a very rigid platform to stand on. It's going to be very durable, and you can pump it up because of that drop stitching to a higher PSI, meaning that you don't feel a lot of flex in your feet when you're walking around or moving around the boat. It makes the hull very rigid. But where you get your catamaran tube at is that deck is actually, or that floor, is actually elevated off the water. This does a couple of things. There's less surface area touching the water of the boat, meaning it's going to cut and move through the water quicker and be more efficient with a motor on the back or while you're paddling. The other thing it does is having that catamaran style hull or those dual pontoons is it's going to add stability. Now I haven't had this out on the water yet, but I have enough experience to know that catamarans tend to be more stable and can be a lot more efficient on the water than a typical flat bottom hull shape that you see in a lot of inflatable kayaks and even that Fish Skiff 16 that I have. This boat is available in a couple of different packages. I do have it in the tandem package, as you see here. It came with 2 seats, 2 paddles, the transom, the bar across the front, which is just going to give it some rigidity and keep those pontoons spread out the way they're supposed to be. It also has a couple of Scotty mounts. Now they have updated this boat since I was able to get my hands on this one, and they've added a few more fishing oriented features like a ruler on the side, and I believe there's also a couple of more Scotty mounts that you can add those accessories to. Now I'm not going to rig this boat out for this video because I really want to test it the way it was and see how it performs with just me on it, and then I'll probably do some follow-up videos once I have this boat rigged out and have the weight of my gear with me as well. So today I'm just going to be testing it for speed, stability, and just see how efficient it is on the water, see how easy it is to launch. And I'm going to be doing all those things with the 5 horsepower Honda motor, which I believe is going to be a great combination for this boat. You can also power this with an electric outboard like the Torqeedo. I have the 903 electric outboard from them, and I'll probably be testing that on here as well, but I really want to just put this boat through the paces today. It's a 2-person capacity with a hull weight of 58 pounds. Now, of course, that's without the motor on it. It's 14 feet 4 inches in length and has a beam of 4 feet, so it's 4 foot wide. It takes about 10 minutes to inflate, and it comes with a pump in the kit that I have. However, I did use an electric pump, which is so much easier, and the pump that I have, you can actually set the PSI that you want it to go up to. The max PSI is written on each valve. Keep in mind though, this morning when I got out, it was cool. As I mentioned, the sun has come out and it's gotten really nice. So I always tend to underinflate just a little bit because I was anticipating that the sun was gonna come out, and when that happens, the boat does tend to expand a bit. It has 5 chambers, and the reason this is important is because it gives you some added safety. If you were to puncture a chamber, which is rare because these are built very durable, you will have the ability to still get back because you have 5 total chambers, and it's very unlikely that you're going to get a leak in all of them. It also comes with a patch kit, and you can patch these boats out on the water. The only time I've ever really had an issue with getting a puncture in an inflatable is not what most people might think, which is fish hooks, because I'm out fishing, but it's actually those tiny little needle fish fins that if you're not careful, if you don't have a net and you bounce one off the side, something like a sheep's head, for example, could puncture the side of the boat. And that is a rare thing as well, but it's just something that could happen. Typically though, it's gonna be a tiny puncture and not even gonna affect your day on the water, and something you can take care of when you get back. But other than that, I've never had any issues, and that's rare as it is, but I've never had any issues with these boats. They're very durable and they hold up really well. Those chambers are welded with an overlap superior glued finish. So this is very good technology. It's common in a lot of inflatables, but Seaguar has been making inflatables for a long time. They do a great job with this. It's 1,000 denier reinforced material, which again means that it is a thicker material. It's going to be very durable, as I mentioned, and you also have these rub rails on the side. So when you're coming up to docks and things, you don't have to worry about it rubbing the actual material there. You can put up to a 6 horsepower gas motor. As I mentioned, I'm gonna be testing this with a 5 horsepower, but you can put up to 60 pounds, 6 horsepower motor on the back. You need a 15-inch shaft, so that's gonna be your shorter shaft motors. And you can have up to a 70-pound thrust electric motor with a 30-inch shaft. You can buy some accessories and use a bow mount motor as well on here. On their website, they say that you should get somewhere around 14 miles per hour with 2 volts and that 5 horsepower Honda motor that I have, and somewhere around 16 miles per hour with 1. You can go to a max of 3.2 PSI in the side chambers and between 8 and 10 in the center chamber. But keep in mind, if you're inflating this boat, when it's cooler outside, you want it to under-inflate a bit. So just caution on the safe side, because when they get hot, when they're in the sun, they do expand. They will tighten up, and you don't want to overinflate them. Now I want to talk a little bit about the different packages that are available with this boat. You can buy this as a solo, what they call the startup package. It's going to give you 1 seat, 1 paddle, the patch kit, the pump, and the boat itself with the bag that you can carry it in, carrying case if you will. They say that's an $1,819 value, because typically the whole runs for that $1,299. They're probably going with a price increase after February 28th this year, so by the time you watch this video, this price may have went up. But for the 2-person package, which is what I'm testing here, it's $1,499 through February 28th. So you will see probably a little bit of a price increase, but under $1,500 for this boat. Now that doesn't include the motor, but it does include 2 paddles, 2 seats, the transom obviously, the pump, and the patch kit. So you're gonna get everything you need to get on the water, because you can actually paddle this boat. You can go up from here with a couple of other packages, including one with a bimini top for $15.99. You can go up to $16.49. It's gonna get you an electric outboard or trolling motor for the stern, or you can keep working your way up with all these different packages with solar to charge your batteries, all the way up to getting this with that Honda motor as well, which would come in at $3,389. So even as I have mine rigged with the Honda motor, you're still under $3,500, which is an amazing package for a really cool boat. Okay, you ready? I forgot my life jacket. You ready? Just got back from being on the water and I realized that I hadn't actually walked through the features. So we'll just start at the bow here. You can see that it has a reinforced, this is some type of nylon nose on it, which is nice because inevitably you're going to run into docks, tree stumps, whatnot. But you can really see that catamaran shaped hull when I get down here low and we take a look underneath the boat. You do have a D-ring here, which would be nice to have a strap, or if you're needing to pull this up onto a trailer in the bed of a pickup truck, or just having that bow line. You also have a handle here at the bow, as well as a little bit of fabric that goes across there to make a good place to put your paddle, I think. I'm not sure if that's what it's designed for. But you can see here you have 3 of the 5 chambers. These are pretty standard that you'll see on a lot of inflatables. You can push this in to let air out. I do recommend, if you're storing it inflated, to deflate it a little bit, again, just because of fluctuation in temperature and whatnot. But it's nice because it does tell you the max PSI right here around it, so you know what's going on there. And it came with the pump. Now, I did use an electric pump because I'm a cheater. You can see that drop stitch pattern there in the floor. But there's your chamber for the floor, chamber for the other pontoon. As we move back, you've got, I'm going to call this a thwart or a brace. This is going to be an area that I do some rigging. We'll get into the riggability when I talk about my final thoughts here. But it would be very easy to mount some rod holders, even a fish finder, GPS to this guy. I like being able to do that versus having to worry about gluing things on the boat, even though you can do that very easily as well. Got another D-ring here that you could use for different things. You can, as I mentioned, get the bow mount bracket or adapter for this if you want a bow mount trolling motor on there. You can see it's got the nice Paddleski logo right here. As we move back into the floor, I'm a big fan of every boat. Kayaks, I even have it on my big skiff. Most of my inflatables all have this EVA foam pad. This is nice. It gives you a little more grip. It's softer to the touch. It also is going to protect this area, which is where you're going to be dealing with fish usually, or tackle and whatnot. So it adds another layer of protection between you and the actual material that the inflatable is made out of. The seats strap down with these D-rings here, and the straps, pretty simple stuff. Very, very similar to, actually exactly like the fish skiff. You have an aluminum frame under the seat. You have a swivel on the seat, so you can pull this handle right here, and then you can swivel the seat around. If you want to face each other, you got a small child, you want them facing you, or if you're driving the boat, it's nice to be able to angle that back seat. Again, I got the tandem package or the dual package here, so I've got both seats. You can get this with just the one seat in that solo package. A couple of handles here on the side. You've got 2 handles on each side, which is going to make it really easy to load and unload, and even give you a place if you want to strap some more gear down. But what's nice is my daughter was able to hold on to these handles while we were out on the water as well. You'll see these little tabs here, and these are so that you can add that bimini top. I've got the bimini top for my fish skiff, and I can put that on here as well because I believe it is adjustable, and I think it will work on both. I'm not 100% on that, but you can get the bimini top as an option for this boat as well, and it uses just a couple of bolts that go through here, or pins, and then there are some D-rings on the back that we'll take a look at when you pull that tight in order to attach it to. And that's what those D-rings up here as well. You would attach it here. This would be your pivot point, and then you would attach it back there. But of course you can use those D-rings to tie other gear down as well. The seats themselves are pretty comfortable. You got a little bit of cushion on the back and some cushion where you're sitting. They fold down, and when you're traveling, you can buckle these. This is perfectly okay and safe to have in the back of your truck, just like this, or on a trailer as I did. These seats aren't going anywhere, but you can quickly take this whole thing off if you need to for putting them in the vehicle by just undoing those D-rings. Taking a look back here again, nothing special. Another seat, just like the one up here, but you'll see this EVA pad goes all the way through, which again is really nice. This is going to be a great area to bring a spare gas can or an external tank if you need to, or batteries. if you need a battery for your bow mount or a battery for the motor that you decide to go with on the back. So it's, again, nice just to have that added layer of protection and a little bit of cushion, but also a little more grip. This is a slicker material. This is a grippier material, so stuff doesn't slide around as much. You have 2 Scotty bases glued to the back here, and I believe on the new model for this year, 2025, I got this in 2024, you will not only have another Scotty base, maybe 2, I'll check on that, but we'll look on the website and I'll put a link to that as well in the description. But I think you have some more options for the Scotty bases, but you also have a measuring tape down the side that allows you to measure your fish catch, which is nice because if you're trying to keep up with regulations or you're just trying to keep up with how you did, see if you can catch a bigger fish than your bud, then you've got that kind of lie detector, if you will, mounted to the side of the boat. Other than that, as we move back here, you've got, you know, the model, which is the 437ps for Paddleski. You've got the transom, which is a quick detach. So you got thumb screws that attach the transom in 4 locations. I did notice that I probably want a little bit more, and you can kind of see this. Got a little dip here. I was conservative when I put the air in because it was a bit warmer, but when we got on that cooler water, the pontoons did kind of shrink a little bit. So I could have probably put them up to the max PSI today. I just wanted to err on the side of caution for that first time. So you had a little bit of flex back here, but nothing major, and it didn't affect the boat in any way that I could tell. You've got the other 2 areas to inflate the back half, or the back probably third of each pontoon. Again, you've got the 3, 1, 2, 3 up front, and then 2 here in the back. So these are going to be separated, the pontoon. So if you did get a leak in one, you still are going to have 4 other chambers with air, which is a safety feature in my opinion. Again, the 2 Scotty bases, I did add the YakAttack base plate that adapts to the Scotty base to give me some track here so that I could put my camera mount on the back. And that's the Mighty Mount, I believe is what this is called. I think it's the Mighty Mount XL. I can't keep up with the names. There's a ton of awesome YakAttack products out there. They even make the bases, so you can get more of these. You can get the Scotty ones, you can get the YakAttack ones, and you can glue them anywhere along the boat that you need to when you're rigging. Again, I ran the 5 horsepower Honda. I really like this motor. It's very quiet, seems to be very efficient. It has a built-in gas tank that holds a little over a gallon of fuel, and that's quite a bit of range, believe it or not. But you can always bring that extra one. You can see on the stern here, you've got some more kind of reinforced nylon on the 2 points of the sponsons. And I'll take a look at the bottom here. You can see how much the deck of the boat is raised off the water. And I really did notice that it rode up on the 2 tubes and not on that part. Add a little bit of water spray here. I think I could adjust the trim of the motor a bit and probably help that some. Also adjust my weight. My daughter is very small and I'm very large. So that could come into play as far as the way the boat was riding, and I think trimming some weight to the bow is going to make it ride a little more efficient. As we get to the very back of the boat here, before I wrap up the feature part of this, you'll see that you've got a couple of handles, and again, those D-rings to attach the back of that bimini. And that's just going to make it really nice to pick up and load. I was able to load this no problem by hand. I love that they put this reinforced material, kind of rubber material, all the way down the side, because if you're going to dock or you're going up against rocks or you're going up against trees, that's going to be really handy. So now that I've went over all the features and kind of looked at this boat from bow to stern, I think it's time to jump in to my thoughts about how it performed on the water. I'm gonna stand up as well. I think it's plenty stable. The first thing we'll talk about is the stability. Again, this is a catamaran pontoon style hull, meaning that the floor is off the water and you're really relying on those 2 outer pontoons for the support and what's floating the vessel on the water. Anytime that you have a pontoon style hull, you can expect stability. And most inflatables are really stable anyway, at least the ones that I've tested out, like the different rafts and even the Seaguar boat, the fish skiff that I've been in before. Very, very stable platform. This boat is 48 inches, 4 foot wide, and it is super stable. I was able to stand on one side with both feet and feel very comfortable. My daughter was walking around and goofing off on the boat, trying to stand on one foot. And she doesn't have the experience in small watercraft like I do. So she was getting her sea legs, but I can tell you the boat is very stable and really right where I thought it would be. It felt good while running. I didn't feel like the boat was tippy at all. And it handled, there's a little bit of light chop out there and some boat wake, and it handled all of that very well. So for stability, I can say very, very stable platform, really right where I expected it to be. And I was able to put all my weight on one side with no issue at all. Both feet on one side, like I said, the boat, super stable. Brandon doesn't quite have her sea legs yet, but the boat is stable, very stable. The next thing I want to jump into is the speed. Now, they advertise that with the 5 horsepower on their website and solo, no gear, just one person on the boat, that you were able to get close to or even a little over 16 miles per hour. Now, we had wind out there today and there was a little bit of chop on the water. And of course, I had my daughter with me. I weigh around 230 pounds. She's probably, if I had to guess, somewhere around 60 pounds. She's still pretty small. So a large adult and a child out there today, we were able to get around 12.5 miles an hour. And we sustained 12 miles an hour pretty consistently as we were riding around the boat. Now, I could tell right away that I need to probably trim the motor a little bit different than the way it was, because I was getting some drag on the back, and I could see that from the way the water was splashing up around the motor. And I could probably play around with the way the weight was trimmed in the boat. I would love to see if I can move the seat a bit more forward or just have some weight on the bow if I do add that bow mount trolling motor. That's going to make a difference and keep the boat riding a little more flat on the water, and it's going to give me more efficiency. They advertise on their website that it would do around 14 miles an hour with 2 people, and I do believe that is possible with the right setup in the motor and the right distribution of your gear. Now, it is called the Paddleski. So in addition to how fast it goes with the motor on the back, I think it is important to talk about how it paddled. And I didn't spend a ton of time doing it, but I did test it out. And I have spent a lot of time paddling different watercraft. So I can tell you that this boat wasn't the most efficient paddlecraft that I've ever been in, but it also wasn't that bad either. I was able to move it around pretty easily with the paddle. Now, the paddles that come with this package, I would say if you're going to be paddling it a lot, it's worth investing in a higher quality paddle. It's not a bad paddle that came with it. It's an aluminum shaft with a plastic blade, and it packs down really small, so it's easy to store, and it's a decent paddle if you're going to be using it occasionally. But if you're going to be spending a lot of time paddling this boat, it would be worth investing in a good paddle. What I mean by that is you have a good, better, and best situation as you move up in paddles. You really do get what you pay for. And when you start looking at materials like fiberglass blades, maybe even going to a carbon fiber shaft, and even all the way up to a carbon fiber bladed paddle, you really start to see some differences in your paddling efficiency, how fast you're able to move the boat, how much power you're transferring from yourself to the water, and it makes a big difference in your fatigue, how fatigued you are at the end of the day. It also makes a big difference in the performance of the boat. So I was using the paddle that came with it because I wanted to test it out. It's a decent paddle. Didn't have a ton of flex in it, but it is going to have a lot more flex than, say, a carbon fiber paddle shaft with a fiberglass blade. So it is important. If you are looking to paddle this boat and you don't get the paddles that come with it, I would recommend having somewhere between a 255 centimeter paddle and a 260 centimeter paddle, because the boat is a bit wider. The paddles that came with it were the correct width and paddled very nicely as far as comfortably with the seat position and the width of the boat that we have. And the boat moved pretty easy with the paddle. It also moved pretty easy with the paddle standing up, which is nice because if you're fishing standing up and you want to make some maneuvers while standing, you can use that paddle as well. And I think that the boat moves very well. We'll talk about maneuverability. When it comes to inflatables, they're all very maneuverable. I've never been in an inflatable that wasn't maneuverable. They sit so high on top of the water. They don't sit down in the water like a boat does. So they're always easy to move around. Now, that has benefits, and it also has, you know, its downside. If it's windy out, which it was today, and you stop correcting the boat or paddling the boat or motoring the boat, it can easily be moved by the wind and maneuvered by the wind as well, because it's very light on the water. It's sitting on top of the water. But the boat turns really well when you're under power. It also turned really well as far as when I was going at slower speeds. I'm able to turn the boat almost within its own circle using that Honda motor on the back, and you'd be able to do the same thing with any electric motor. Also with the paddle, again, very maneuverable. I can spin it, you know, pretty easily with just taking one good sweeping bow stroke and then following that up with a reverse stroke on the other side. So very maneuverable, nothing that I didn't think I would see there. I mean, it's exactly where I thought it would be. I want to get into comfort, and this is where I would say if there was any downside to this boat, that I do feel I could make some small modifications to make this boat a little more comfortable for me. Now, the seats themselves are comfortable. They have the cushion, they're shaped well, they have the back support. It's a comfortable seat, but you can tell here that the seats are pretty low to the boat. So you're sitting with your feet really needing to either be out in front of you, or you're going to have to sit Indian style, or at least I did, in the back seat because of that front seat. Now, if I didn't have the front seat in, I would have been able to stretch my legs out in front of me, and I would have been a little more comfortable. With the seat so low, when you're in the front, you're sitting with your legs straight out in front of you. So very similar to the way you would be in a recreational style kayak. Most of your fishing style kayaks now have a higher seat. The fish skiff, for example, also has a higher seat. But this boat has very low seating positions, which gives you that stability, or at least that sense of stability, because your center of gravity is very low to the water, very close to the bottom of the boat. But a couple of things that it didn't do was it didn't really give me the comfort as far as getting up and down. It's a little bit of a strain to get up from such a low position, especially if you're a bigger person like myself. Also, when you're in the second seat or the back seat position and you have that front seat in place, I didn't really have the room to stretch my legs out without putting them on either side of the front seat or sitting cross-legged in the back. So that's what I did. I sat cross-legged in the back and I was able to drive the boat. Not terrible. You still have the back support. You still have the cushion. So the seats themselves are very comfortable. But I think it could add comfort if I could get the seat elevated slightly, giving a little bit better ergonomics to the way I was sitting in the boat. The fish skiff, like I mentioned, that I've tested from Seaguar, has these little posts. You can buy them off the shelf pretty much anywhere, because this is a very standard seat that you would see in a lot of different types of boats. And you can get different heights to be able to get that seat up and down. I don't know that I would raise the front seat because I like being able to see over the person that's sitting in the front seat. But if I was going to be using this boat a lot, and I do plan to, I will probably swap out, or at least put a riser in back there so I can get a little bit higher up and just get a better ergonomic to the way that I'm seated. I think that's the way I should word it, an ergonomic. Just get a little bit better geometry for my legs and just the way that I'm seated in the back. You know, I'm so low, I'm having to sit cross-legged, and I could see if I'm spending a lot of time doing that and I'm spending a lot of time getting up and down, that isn't going to be very comfortable for me all day. Again, I don't want to say that this boat is not comfortable, because the seats are very comfortable. I just think that a little more height here would be very beneficial to someone that's going to be in this boat throughout the day for a long period of time. That would affect paddling, and you would be more of a sail in the wind the higher up you get. But with the motor, I think you'd be more comfortable if you're a little higher. Very easy to do. You can do this aftermarket. You can buy these pretty much anywhere online. So that wouldn't be a big deal. But that was the only negative or downside I would say to the comfort. I think stability is one of the things that adds to the comfort. You have plenty of that. And also I love that EVA pad on the floor, so it's very comfortable under your feet. And the seats themselves are very comfortable. Fishability. Now, fishability really covers a lot of things. I mean, in fishability, I think you can talk about rigging as well. even though I kind of separate that typically in my reviews as a different category. I think that this boat is super stable, as I mentioned, so being able to stand and fish, not a problem. Having the ability to get a bow mount adapter and put a bow mount trolling motor on the front and have your gas powered or electric powered motor on the stern is going to let you get to a lot of places that are a little further away than what you can get to by simply paddling. It also will allow you to control the boat very easily with those motor options, and being able to maneuver the boat with a paddle, I think really speaks volumes to what you could do as far as fishing from this boat. It would be easy to fish with 2 people, but I think it would be an amazing solo platform that is very lightweight, easy to get on and off the water very quickly, and can get you into a lot of places that a bigger boat or even a fiberglass whole boat couldn't get you to. So there's a lot of versatility with this platform when it comes to fishing from it. Now, I'm going to jump into rigging, and I think these two are very connected because as anglers, we really like to rig out our boats. When it comes to rigging this boat, it has a couple of Scotty mounts in the back, which I think are key, and I used one to mount my camera mount. And I believe that the new version of this boat that I do not have does have that fishing or that fish measuring tape on the side, and I think it also even comes with another one of the Scotty bases. But I think you would have to spend a little bit of time thinking about how you're going to utilize this boat and maybe add a couple more of those Scotty bases or get some from YakAttack. They're not hard to do. There are tons of videos. You can glue those right on, right where you need them. So I think you could easily rig this boat up, and at the price point that it comes in at, I think that you're still getting a lot of value there, even though it doesn't have those Scotty mounts already in place. The downside of that is you do have to go purchase a few things and probably figure out where you want them and mount them to the boat. Now, one of the things that I do like is that it has this bar across the front that gives it stability and keeps those pontoons where they're supposed to be instead of wanting to roll up on the boat. This aluminum bar is a great place to mount some track, and you could easily add your fish finder or a couple of other rod holder mounts and things like that there. You could also add a bar across the back or carry something like the YakAttack Black Pack with you, which is a great thing to rig stuff onto. So even as the boat sits without those bases, I think I'm going to be able to rig this boat up by getting a little creative, utilizing the bar across the front and potentially putting a crate in front of me instead of just behind me. And that would allow me to have my tackle easily accessible and also use that crate to mount other things on it if I want to take a cup holder or if I want to add just a few other things to put tackle and gear in. I really like doing that with products like that Black Pack because I can take it on and off the boat very quickly and very easily, and I can find places to strap that down with the different D-rings and the handles that are available throughout the boat. So when it comes to rigging, this is pretty much a blank slate. I'll say it has a little bit in the way of features that would allow you to get started, but you're really gonna need to sit down and think about how you're gonna use the boat, how you're gonna fish out of it, and where you need things, and you're probably gonna have to buy some aftermarket products to be able to outfit this boat for fishing or to rig it the way that you want to rig it. So again, fishability and rigging kind of tied together in this because that is one thing that unlike a fishing kayak that has gear track all over it and already has some places for rod staging, and they've really thought about it from the ground up to be designed for fishing. This is kind of a blank slate and a little more versatile in the sense that it's a great recreational product, but also could be easily adapted and rigged for fishing. Last thing I want to talk about is value. You can get into this boat in the solo platform with a paddle and the seat for $1,299, and then add your power. You know, for a few $100s you can pick up an electric trolling motor and you are off to the races for less than $2,000, and you've got a very awesome platform to get out on the water. You can take it all the way up to the way I have it rigged, and you're still under $4,000 with a 5 horsepower Honda motor on the back. It's priced really well. You're going to be able to get into this boat quite a bit cheaper than a lot of other inflatable options that are on the market, but you may have to do a little bit of rigging. So I think it's priced right where it should be. I think the value's there. Getting the packages that have the seats included, if you want the option to take 2 people, you get the 2 paddles, and you have really everything you need, and you can package this thing out on their website so many different ways with different motor options, bow mount, stern mount, gas power, and even multiple different electrical motor options from multiple different brands like Torqeedo, Newport, Bixby, and even some of the gas-powered motors like the Honda here. So a lot of options to get it, and I think that there's a lot of value in getting those packages all put together so that when you get the boat, you can put it together and hit the water very quickly. When I talked about rigging earlier, and I think this kind of ties into even the speed, even the value, all of the categories, is how versatile it is to be able to get it on the water quickly. I put the whole thing together, and honestly what took most of the time was to bolt the seats down to the platform. There's 4 bolts. That was pretty simple. Putting the transom on and off, you don't need any tools for that really. It's thumb screws. Same goes for this thwart or this brace that goes across the front. And then inflating it. It comes with the pump, but invest in an electric pump and you'll be off to the races very quickly. You could take this all the way down and put it in the trunk of a car, quite honestly, if you had a big enough trunk or small SUV, and set this thing up probably in 20 minutes or less at the water. If you have a trailer or a truck bed, this is going to be very, very simple. I ran it with the motor even hanging off the transom up the highway and didn't have any issues. If I was going on a longer trip, I might pull the motor off, but other than that, the seats are staying in it. The boat's going to stay inflated. So very quick to get on and off the water. And I think there's a lot of value in inflatables in general, and this one is no different. So who is the Paddleski from Seaguar for? It's hard to pinpoint because it is so versatile. It is a fun little platform to just go hang out on the water with. If you don't have a lot of storage, or you don't have the ability to, get a big boat and keep it somewhere, or even, have a roto-molded kayak for that matter. This is a pretty cool, very versatile boat that could be paddled. For sure it paddles, and I have been in kayaks that did not paddle as efficient as this. So like I said, it paddles well, and you could totally paddle this boat. You can totally motor it with a lot of different options, including bow mount and stern mount. So this is just, I think, for anyone looking for a fun way to get out on the water at a very reasonable price point that you could build on and really fine-tune it to your needs. If you want to fish off of it, I think it's very fishable. If you want to just go hang out and spend a day on the water with your kid, I think it's an awesome way to do that. The ability to store this in a very small area by taking this down, breaking it down and deflating it and putting it back into the storage bag, I think is super key. So if you're someone that just doesn't have a lot of storage and can't store it inflated like this, it's an awesome option, especially like we're in the middle of winter. So there's so much time that goes by that I can't be on the water as much as I would like to. And instead of having it sit out on the trailer and having to worry about keeping it covered, I can break it down and put it inside my building. It doesn't weigh a lot, so it's very easy to handle. So yeah, I think it's for a lot of people, and you should definitely check it out. You can go to their website. There's a lot of different options. They have a lot of inflatables, and actually I'm looking forward to trying out one of their other inflatables, which is the Fish Sup. It's a boat they've had out for a while, but they kind of reinvented it this year, and I saw it at iCast. So my next review is going to be on the Fish Sup. If you enjoy this content, if you have any questions, please post them down there. Let me know you enjoy the content by liking and by commenting below. And as always, thanks for watching.